be the home where you can accomplish those. So our vision then, how do we support that mission? If we want to be able to empower our agents and create opportunities for our agents, we have to be the home for the ethical agent, the ones who are high-minded and motivated and mastery-based, and people who are professionals, who are not only committed to achieving what they want personally, but also professionally. And I think that's so wonderful and so well written, because if you're like me, a lot of times those professional and personal goals tend to overlap, or one is connected to the other. So if I do well enough in this area of my life professionally, then this area of my life personally will also improve. And I think that's a lot of what drives many of us, whether it's making enough money to go on a big family trip at the end of the year, or having enough money to put aside for your kids' tuition fund, or a new house, or whatever the case may be. There's that. So, all right, along the same line is the values. Values are those things that should be kind of front and center as you're interacting, as you're going through your day-to-day in your business. So these are sort of those foundational principles that your business sits on. So again, these are company values, and it's not a list of 40, it's simplified. Maybe you have 3, maybe you have 9. Either way, what are your values? What is it that you want people to feel? What do you want people to pick up on when they do business with you? What are the principles that sort of guide your decision-making? For us, it's God, family, integrity, excellence, discipline, responsibility, and humor. Humor will go a long, long way, especially when you deal with the ups and the downs of building a business. And that, of course, leads us into our beliefs. And this is not a full list. Our full list is about a page and a half, but the one in blue is the one that's most relevant, and that is that we believe focus is the key to success. That's the whole reason why we do this. The whole reason why we talk about a plan, we talk about clarity, we talk about goals and tying it together. It's to get us focused on what we need to do in the year to get us where we say we want to go. And beliefs are very, very important, because beliefs are sort of the catalyst or the driving force behind what we do and how we behave. Our beliefs shape the actions that we take, which then, of course, turn into our habits, which then turn into the way that we're productive or not productive. And then, of course, that affects our success, and then it just kind of balloons out from there. So beliefs are highly important. So what we're going to talk about today is we covered the plan, we covered clarity. We're going to talk about some simple and specific goals, whether you want to increase your production or you just want to get better at one certain skill. We'll talk about that and how to put your goals at the forefront. So generally in real estate, there are probably four goals that appear over and over and over again, and especially throughout the course of a year. And the first one, the big one, is what everybody wants, and that's to increase your production. And so how do you increase your production? You have to track. You got to know where you started in order to be able to know how far you've come, and to be able to measure that based against the actions that you've taken. So keep a weekly update on the contacts that you make, the appointments that you have, or the appointments that you set, as well as any contracts that you may have submitted or written up. So why do you think it's important to keep track of your contacts that you're making and the appointments and the contracts?
So that you can keep yourself accountable for one thing, but also so that you have a record of who you've already contacted, to keep contacting them so that you don't forget about some of these people and let them fall to the wayside.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think I told you guys about Booj, right? I mean, I know you've heard about it, Amanda, but Booj is going to be huge. There was another article that came out in my email from Remax. They're testing it right now. It's in the testing environment, and Charity is a tester in our office. So is Charlie. And the feedback, I haven't talked to them specifically, but the feedback, hey. Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can move. We'll go to the conference room. How's that? Yeah?
I
Okay.
don't remember hearing about Boosh, so you'll have to tell me more in a little bit.
We've got a big group that needs our training room pretty quickly, so I'm going to relocate us to the conference room, so just hang tight, okay?
No problem.
That is the beauty of a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Hang tight. I don't know. Okay.
Just point me at him as you leave, and I'll wave. Hey, girl.
Yeah, hey. You get to look at my nose. They're really good view. My ears.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing about Boosh if you've told me. I forgot, but I don't think so.
It's going to be really good. It's a CRM or a customer relationship management or relationship management program.
Good, because I haven't found one yet.
Yeah, and they're in it's supposed to be extremely intuitive. So it's Remax purchased it, so it's a Remax product.
Awesome.
Super exciting because then we have a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah.
To do what we want to do with it, which is great. But it's going to be very smart. So, like right now, they're doing studies on where your eye goes the most, like when you log into it, so that the most important things are right where you need them. You don't have to go and looking for them and hunting for them. And so it'll say like, "Hey, Stacy, you haven't talked to these 4 people in a while. Should we send them an email?" You're like, "Yep." Click, and then it sends them a little email.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be really good in terms of keeping up with your contacts that you have in your database. But, with most software, the software is only as good as what you put into it. That's why I've been telling you guys and hitting you over the head with it. Like, get your list of contacts together. Get your database set and current, because that is going to be like the lifeblood of your business moving forward. Okay, secondly, prioritize. Now that you've got a weekly list of your contacts that you're making, your appointments, your contacts, now let's look at prioritizing to ensure that prospecting is scheduled. I'm a big believer in this. I get a lot of funny looks when I say this because people are like, well, in real estate, you really can't plan. You can. You can plan an hour out of your day. When I was doing leasing on the commercial side, I dedicated 1 hour a day to only prospecting. So reaching out to different businesses who I felt like would do better in a different office building, people who had maybe low visibility who could benefit from better visibility for their business, people who were kind of in a shady part of town. I contacted all of them. That's all I did for an hour. I would drive up and down the highway or down like little like offset roads and just make notes in my phone of business names, and I'd Google them, stalk them a little bit. It can be done, even if it's just an hour. And there's so much truth to this. We had a girl in the same company that I worked for. Her only job was to lease space. That was it. She was a leasing person. That was all she had to do. I had to manage a building, be a marketing director, and lease. And when we went to our leasing meetings every Monday, her prospecting sheet, maybe for the week, mind you, had maybe 20, 22 people that she was able to contact. And that she had 8 hours to do this, okay, every day. So in 1 hour a day, so I had 5 hours a week, I probably had on average 80 to 100 people that I would contact. So it just goes to show you when you focus on one thing, and in my case it was prospecting for new leases, when you focus on one thing for an hour and you don't let anything else interrupt that time, you can quadruple what another person will do when they have 8 hours with plenty of room for distraction and plenty of things to take them off of. And Amanda's like, yes, because she understands this. She's had to wear a lot of hats recently. She's got some help now, but for a while it was all her. So she understands how important it is to kind of prioritize and schedule. And you will too, as you get into this further and further. However, the big point here, long way around, is to prioritize that and make sure that prospecting time is scheduled. It's crucial because if you're not prospecting for new business, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to generate new leads. You've got to always kind of look for those opportunities, because without a lead, you can't do anything else, right?
Absolutely.
Which leads me to the third point. So maximizing all of the lead generation sources that you have. And this looks pretty similar across the board. You know, you've got your network and your sphere, which you guys know 80% of all of the transactions that were done across the country directly resulted from our sphere. And that's true even at our level. With our office, 80% of our deals all came from sphere. Mm-hmm. So maximizing your efforts within your network, whether it's like Vivian, she over the holidays reached out to every single person in her cell phone. Hey, Merry Christmas. How are the kids? Blah, blah, blah. That's how she does it. Some people send postcards. Some people call. Whatever that looks like for you, just make sure you make time to do it. Other lead generation sources, it could be community events. I know that's important to you. You're trying to get out there and find new business for the company. And lead generation sources can also look like open houses. They can look like expired listings or terminated listings. They can look like for sale by owner. I mean, there's any number of ways to generate leads. But none of that is going to do you any good if you can't manage to follow up. So number one way to increase your production is to follow up daily. Brian Buffini just released his new program, and it's like like Essentials for Mastery or Pathway to Mastery or something like that. And he was saying that when he started in the business in California, this lady came in and he was like, I'll sit in an open house for you. And she came in and he was like, I'll get your information. He didn't have the answer to her question. He was brand new. He got her information, got the answer, called her back the next day. And she was like, you're kidding. No one ever calls me back. And that's true. Even when we deal with different businesses in our lives, how frustrating is it when you call someone and they don't call you back? Mm-hmm. So following up and being able to follow up every day is automatically going to set you here when your competition is here. Because people aren't following up. They're not returning phone calls. They're waiting 4 days to respond to a text message when time is of the essence, especially in real estate. So he said that same lady was like, I can't believe it. And so she ended up buying 10 houses because she was a restaurant owner that everybody else just kind of looked over because they qualified her without really knowing anything. And she ended up buying 10 houses from him over the course of like 3 or 4 years just because he returned her phone call. Mm-hmm. So important to be able to follow up every day with the people that you're working, whether that's from your network or people that you meet out in the community. And then finally, make it fun. Make it fun for yourself. And if you're on a team, make it fun for them too. It's so important. If it's fun for you to set a timer and see how many you can call or contact within that time frame, do it. If it's fun for you to go out and meet people versus texting them or calling them, go out and meet people. Whatever makes it fun for you, that's what you need to do. Because when you're having fun, it's more likely that you're going to increase your production because you're enjoying it. And it's not something that you're going to view as like a chore. Okay, any questions on goal number 1?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Okay, so the second goal that a lot of us have in real estate, if we increase our production, then it's very likely that we also want to increase our profits. And so the number one way to do that is to first watch your expenses. Be very much aware of what your monthly expenses are, where they're going, and what the results are from those expenses. I think this is particularly important in our environment, and I'd love to know your thoughts too, Amanda, in property management. But I've talked to so many agents in our company who are spending thousands of dollars a month on internet leads. And when I ask them, and how's that working out for you, they all kind of hang their head and they say, nothing. I'm not getting anything. These leads are not even leads. They're just people who won't call me back, or they're people who aren't even interested. And so it's just so sad to me that people are spending that kind of money. And that's a real expense that works against any kind of potential profit that they're hoping to make by converting the lead. Are you seeing a lot of that too?
Yeah, we don't use it anymore. So like halfway through this year, I canceled all of that. Like we use the one that comes with our software. That's like a free that goes like Zillow. And but that's integrated into, we already pay for that, like in our software. But we had some other stuff. It was getting people from all over the country. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know how I got your information. Like, they're like, no, I'm not moving to Beaumont. You know, they're like, I don't know. So we saw a lot of that.
So it's everywhere. Okay, so if your goal is to increase your profits, then obviously work to increase your production. Now, the third one, it says know the cost of your lead generation systems and let the results suggest where you need to cut. I'm not saying that if you have invested money, sorry, I have like hiccups. I had chili from Jason's Deli for lunch, and I'm like, okay, so if you have a lead generation system that you're paying for that's paying off and yielding the kind of fruit from your investment and giving you the results that you want, I'm not saying to cut that. I am saying to take a good hard look at where your money goes and see if it's justified.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next, keep your client gifts and services to a minimum while still working to provide them with that personalized wow moment. You know, getting them a housewarming gift can be something as simple as a little flower pot with a flower in it, or nothing extravagant, nothing that you have to go and spend $200 on. Watch those expenses as much as you can, but don't sacrifice that personalized touch. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, if you want to increase your profits, stay focused on being able to look for opportunities to reduce costs wherever you can. I think you've done a really good job at kind of taking in all of the property management and just looking at everything, even though you got like thrown into the accounting pool. But staying focused on being able to reduce those costs and then kind of reinvest them in other areas of the business where it's going to pay off, whether it's visibility or something else that can make the business better. Or if you were able to reduce costs somewhere in one area, that doesn't mean spend it somewhere else. You never know what's going to come up. So increasing profits really has more to do with watching your expenses than anything else. Another common goal that we see in real estate is to increase the family time that we need in our lives, and that personal time where we can just kind of take a moment for ourselves, because this business is fast and it's hectic, but it's also wonderful. So some ways to do that, how to increase your family or your personal time: keep yourself on a schedule so that you know when your day ends, which is why we always say determine how many hours you're going to invest in your business from the start. That way you're not kind of all over the place, and you know when 5 o'clock comes around or 4:30 or whatever the number is, whatever the time is, you're going to go home and be with your kids. You're going to go home and be with Bosco or whoever. It's so important that even if you're not communicating what your schedule is, that you know what your schedule is. That way the day doesn't get away from you and you don't look up at 9 p.m. and think, oh my God, I haven't even been home. Another way to increase that family or that personal time is to work smarter and not harder. Working smarter could be to delegate some of these things out, like what you're doing. Working smarter could mean investing in technology that can help you stay on track. It could be the way that you structure your calendar to remind you sooner. That way you wrap up what you're doing then quicker. Any number of ways to make you more efficient, to where you're not just killing yourself day in and day out, that you can delegate out what you need to delegate out. We kind of talked about that earlier this morning. I'm not a math person whatsoever. So anytime anything comes up with math, I gladly hand it off to someone who can do it and who enjoys it, because it's not me. Yeah. And it would take me twice as long to get to the same answer as somebody who it comes naturally for. Mm-hmm. So delegate. And then finally, using those reminders well in advance of your appointment so that you stay on track. I do this. I kind of give myself a buffer in between, whether it's classes or appointments or whatever. For example, if I know that I have a consulting session with someone at 10, I'm not going to schedule anything that goes past 9:35, just because inevitably it's going to run over until like 9:50, 9:55. And then I still have that little window where I can go kind of reset and move forward without running into my next appointment, which then pushes that back, and then it pushes that back. And then it's just sort of a ripple effect from there. So use those reminders, use your calendar notifications well in advance of your appointment so that your day doesn't get away from you. Do y'all use your phone calendar? I do. What about you, Stacey?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. Definitely.
I wouldn't know what to do without my calendar.
Yeah.
I thought about getting a daily planner just to have every hour, but then I thought I can do that on my calendar to have and I have my phone with me all the time. So yeah.
Same.
Yeah, a calendar for my husband on my calendar. I just invite him. Like, you have this going on, and I put
That's funny.
And then I send it to him via email, and I make him accept it. So it gets on his, so it reminds him.
She said I make him accept it.
Because then it dings on him, because I have his set up to where it don't, like, because if not, he'll miss stuff.
He would.
Okay.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
I love that. She's like,
yeah,
you got to be there.
Yeah.
I love that. But seriously, and
it works.
It does. And some people are like, no, I don't use a calendar. I'm like, then how do you function?
Yeah.
I have to. And if it's not on my calendar, it ain't gonna happen.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Especially on a busy day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, the fourth goal that we see a lot in this business is people who want to improve their skills, improve something about the way that they work in their business. And so the first way to improve this is to know who your circle is, know who you can practice with. If it's your spouse, if it's someone in your family, a cousin, somebody that you feel comfortable with that you can practice on, whether it's conversations or the dialogue or showing a house. I mean, anything that you feel like you could use practice on, bring somebody with you who you trust, who can give you good, solid feedback that's truthful and that's designed to help you and not the opposite. Also, when you know who your circle is, that also helps with ways that you can be held accountable. If you're not accountable, then it sort of kind of works against you, I think. You can plug into an accountability group, which is always good, because we know that when you are part of a group, specifically, you're 33% more productive just because you know you have to report what you've done to other people, which is so funny because you don't ever want to be the person that shows up to the group without anything being done. You don't want to be the one that's like, oh, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. So I think that's kind of like the psychology behind it. But know who can hold you accountable or who can help hold you accountable. That goes a long, long way in reaching your goals, but also keeping you productive. Okay, next, if you want to improve your skills, you want to be aware of any and all the training that's offered and also attend it. Carve out an hour, or if it's 30 minutes, if that's all you can make, then do 30 minutes. But the first thing is just to be aware of it. That's why it's plastered everywhere in the office. That's why RE/MAX just sends email after email about R4 and the state convention coming up next month. I mean, that's why there's always educational opportunities that are out there. And even stuff outside of the office. There's really good like CE stuff that's being offered elsewhere with the title companies. And like Mobile is going to do a really great seminar coming up at the end of this month. At the Jefferson Theater, which is going to be fun. So be aware of it, first of all, but then also take advantage of it. It's there, so why not?
Are there very many of the office members that go to the state conventions and stuff like that? Or,
I think in the past there has been, but I don't know that there's any real way to predict it. Like who's know and who's not. It just depends on what they've got going on. But I heard that they're really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then finally, the most important thing, if you want to improve your skills, take some type of action every single day. Devin on Dana's team, she's so cute. She came in my office right before our class, and she's like, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's never, I always kind of like sit up straighter, and she was like, so we went to the buyer conversion class, which was right before Christmas. And I said, yes. And she said, if you remember that same weekend, I had a meeting with people that live in Bryan up by College Station. They were coming in and they only had that day to get everything.
I remember her telling us that, yeah.
Yeah. So she said, I implemented what you talked about in buyer conversion. I had them meet me at the office. We came to the conference room. I said, tell me what your needs are, what your wants are. We filled out the sheet. I looked in the MLS. We narrowed it down from the 8 listings that they felt like were good fits to 4. We tore up 2, and they made an offer on 1 and have an accepted contract. And she said it was the most satisfying thing for her because it pushed her outside of her comfort zone. She had never approached it that way. She said it was highly effective because it narrowed it down very quickly. They were able to make an offer. They love the house. And she said the buyers were just like, thank you so much. She's like, because they're not going to be here as the transaction progresses. They're in Bryan. And they said, it just made us feel so good as buyers because we felt like, we know what we want, but we feel good knowing that you know what we want.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh my God, like I was so proud of her for just doing it, And so I told her, I was like, I can't wait for you to come back to buyer conversion and kind of, now that you've got some context, and share what your thoughts were actually having done it.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be exceptional.
She had just met them. Did she have any idea ahead of time as far as to be able to schedule viewings that day since they only had one day, I wonder, or did they?
I don't know. From what it sounded like from when she told me about it, it sounded like they went through it right then. Because it's a Saturday, so I don't know. I mean, they may have sent her some, but there again, I mean, they crossed off half the list when they really went through like their needs, their wants, and then they prioritized it. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I wanted to ask her because I had one that I called today that wanted to look today, but it was a tenant occupied and that she refused. She hung up on me at first, but then called me back to schedule, but that she would not show it the same day. I mean, she was like, I'm moving, and kind of got cranky and hung up. And then she called me back and was like, yes, you can schedule it, just not today. I need 24 hours, But I didn't know if she ran into any of that or how she handled, what I mean, if she did encounter a opposition, what I mean, like that. So.
The only setback that she had was that her computer, when she was in here at the office, it wouldn't talk to the printer. So she was just like, great, but she was able to overcome it. So anyway, she's like, that kind of sucked. But other than that, it was great.
Good.
But,
Yeah.
Anyway, ask her about it the next time you see her. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any questions.
Absolutely.
So, all right. And that's it, folks. So those are the 4 common goals when in the real estate business. So improving skills, increase your family or your personal time, increase your profits, and increase your production.
Awesome.
Do you have any questions or comments? So do you want to tell Stacey how you work with your goals? Like, because you kind of do like little daily goals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go from, it's so weird that we're already in a new year.
I know.
I don't know, like at the beginning of the year, my husband and I sat down and wrote down personal goals, like down to little bitty things that we knew, like things we wanted to pay off that were like $200 and $300, like everything you can think of. It was like 2 pages long with like little stuff, and then with some big stuff.
Yeah.
And then we broke it into quarters of the year and said, okay, what do we have to do work-wise to get these things knocked off? And then what do we have to set aside time? How many weekends a month do we have to set aside time to clean out the garage? And we basically just calendared our year like that. And then every day coming into work, I basically did my work goals the same way. And at the end of every day, I have my notepad and I write down the things that I know I have to get done first thing the next day. And I leave it on the notepad and I walk out the door and I go home. And then I come back to those. And then every day I write down my big goals, like just the gist of them, like 2 or 3 that I know that we're working towards right then. And I just write them down every single day. And then I have a whiteboard that it's clean now, but I'm about to have to go write my first quarter. So I write on my whiteboard, it's like quarterly goals. Like what are my big projects and big things that I'm doing for this quarter? And I just write them down and talk about them. And then my husband and I talk about them every day, about our goals, individually, personally, business. And we never shut up about them, basically. And it worked. That was the first year that we did it together, and it paid off big time.
Last year?
Yeah, last year. Like, he has always done it, like, with work, kind of, and, like, off and on. But, like, last year we made a point to, like, have them in our face every day, basically. And, like, how'd you do at work? Did you write your goals down? He keeps, I don't do it the way he does, but I write them on a notepad, just like a legal size, whatever you call those white pads. He keeps flashcards. And he writes every single morning whenever he gets to his office, his work goals or personal goals on his thing, and he keeps it in his pocket. And throughout the day, he'll grab it and read them and put them back in and grab it and read them.
That's fun.
And so that's what he has his team do, is write them on flashcards. And he puts them and folds them. And we have a whole bag now from 2018. And you can see them change. Like, as you knock off one, So it's fun to go back and read his note cards because you can like see how, he knocked that off. So now it's off. And so that's fun. But it just, everyone does it differently. We just, I have to like have it in my face because obviously that worked for us. So
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yay. So that's really cool.
That is cool.
Do you feel like whenever at the end of the day and you write down those 3 things that you need to do the following day, like even if nothing else gets done and you do those 3 things, do you feel like the day was not a waste?
Yeah. So I'm able to, what I found at the beginning of the year, I was so overwhelmed with everything, and I would go home and not really like detach from work because I was so worried about all these little things that I didn't want to forget to do. I had to call someone back, but they called like really late and I never got back to them, and it was something important, whatever the case may be. And then I would get to work and be like, oh my God, I forgot what to do. So whenever I started writing those down on a piece of paper and leaving them at my desk and walking out the door, I was able to detach, which then let me rest and recover from the day.
Yes.
So I came back in, and before I even check an email, a voicemail, anything, I knock out my things on that list.
That's awesome.
Before my day starts, I finish the day before, basically, of anything, or I attempt to, if it's calling someone back or whatever. But I at least go through that list before I even check voicemails, payments, anything.
That's so awesome. I love that. I need to do that.
It just, I don't know, I'm able to like have family time.
And it's real family time. Like you're there, you're present.
If our phones get put up, so dinner's at 7:00 at night, by 6:30, my husband and I's phone are in our bedrooms away from everybody until we go to bed. And then the next day we wake up and start back over. But we don't touch them.
That is so great. Is your bedtime still like 9 p.m.?
Yeah, pretty much.
Love it!
Mine too.
So I laugh because we're we go to bed at like 9 every night because we're old. But
no, I like to go to bed early too. I just like sleep.
If the kids are asleep, it's the only time that we can sleep.
Yeah.
So the second they wake up, we're done for.
Yeah.
And then we're early risers though. We wake up at like 5:30, but we like are able to have a cup of coffee together without kids running around because they don't wake up until we wake them up. But I don't know, just prioritizing for sure has helped us a lot.
That's so great. So great. Okay, Stacy, do you have any other comments or questions?
No, I enjoyed it. I can't wait to get the papers from you because now I'm really thinking about just trying to write down my vision and my goal. You know what I mean? Like really put them into words because I think I know them, and then I start saying them out loud. And I'm like, is that really what I want it to be? You know what I mean? So it's really got my mind working, which I like. But I want to start writing it down. Awesome. Well, I hope that you are on the last leg of whatever has knocked you down with this illness. Thank you. I hope so too. I'm feeling better. I just am not trusting myself to just eat just anything yet again. Like I'm letting myself kind of ease back into eating slowly. Good for you. All right, dear. Well, I will see you soon. If you need anything, just let me know. Okay, hon. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.